Evolution, the inevitable phenomena. Evolution is a natural phenomenon of modification which can neither be avoided nor denied. There is, however, a difference between change and evolution. While change occurs with the passage of time on any scale, evolution occurs with the passage of generations themselves. Change in some cases can be avoided, but evolution cannot. Change may be a temporary phenomena, but evolution is enduring. Change can be an instantaneous process, whereas evolution proceeds gradually. Change can be a reversible phenomena, but evolution is not. Cancer is usually an uncontrolled cellular growth. Healthy metabolism, on the other hand, is a controlled division and multiplication of cells into the next generation, taking into consideration and being subservient to the existence of the body they reside in. It is no less than a marvel of evolution that healthy cell division preserves this prerequisite of existence. For if cell division became uncontrolled and was not to follow the principle of live and let live, both the cells and the host body would eventually be annihilated, as is seen in the case of cancer. Looking at it through another example, a cancerous process is like an uncontrolled atomic reaction, much like a bomb, which is unbridled release of energy, causing the destruction of both itself and its surroundings. Healthy metabolic evolution on the same scale would then be comparable to a balanced and controlled nuclear reaction as seen in the process of the generation of electric power. Having got the gist of the idea, let us see some evolutionary processes and how they affect our lives. Keeping within the broad parameters of the topic, only some religious and scientific examples are being quoted. Although evolution can be seen to occur in different forms in almost all fields of knowledge. Entire human development is the result of this constant process, and it is observable in every facet of life, be it thought, word, or deed. The very evolution of this triad of life, that is, thought, word, and deed, constitutes the development of the individual and subsequently the evolution of the entire human race. Man has been transformed through the ages from being a cave dweller to a resident of skyscrapers. This has taken place over generations of evolution. The entire universe is in a constant flux and is gradually evolving. What started with a Big Bang, an instantaneous change, has evolved over the millennia and may eventually be proceeding towards the Big Crunch. The main conflict between religious thought and scientific study is the concept and propagation of finality. Religious preaching is based on the Word of God, which is believed to be the first and the last, which cannot be questioned and of which there is no tangible proof either. Science, on the other hand, demands that every theory or a hypothesis be backed by logical, mathematical, or experimental proof. However, seen closely, both the religious and scientific ideas have themselves transformed or modified over the years in an evolutionary manner. Scientific evolution, by its very nature, as just explained, is clearly visible and documented, hence more readily understood and accepted. The evolution of religious thought, on the other hand, is subtle and inherently more subjective to the mental psyche of the era. Both religious and scientific fields of knowledge are nonetheless derivatives of and influenced by each other. Whether they do so consciously with a full understanding of the other's position and contention, or unconsciously as a subjective reaction to it, is however debatable. To elaborate this, let us take an example from history. The early church contended that man is the center of creation and hence must also be the center of the universe, around whom all other creation should in theory be revolving. So, in the Ptolemaic system, the earth got placed in the center and the sun and all other planets were thought to revolve around it. This was disproved by Galileo's experimental confirmation of the Copernican theory of the solar system. Human mind had to eventually accept the scientifically proven fact of a stationary sun with planets revolving around it, rather than the reverse, which was the established belief. The point to note here is not that religion or its belief was wrong at the time of the inception of the basic idea, but that all of human awareness and knowledge gradually evolved and took account of the fact that as more scientific data became available to man, the existing belief could not accommodate it and the old theory could not fully explain it. Something had to be done to understand and explain this new data. So a more profound theory was born, which was supported by logic and reason and which could withstand and verify these new facts more rationally. Copernican theory was thus far more acceptable to the age of reason, and with Galileo's verification of it, had to be adapted sooner or later, though not without pain and suffering both for the scientists and also the proponents of status quo. A higher and more evolved concept is one that is able to adequately explain the previously available facts along with the new data, either more comprehensively or in a new light altogether. This acceptance itself establishes the evolution of all knowledge-based systems, be they scientific, religious, or any other. Let us now see how scientific theories themselves tend to evolve with the advancement of knowledge. An epochal event in the scientific field was Newton's law of motion and gravity. They gave adequate explanation of the phenomena of nature till the emergence of Einstein's theory of relativity, which changed the very idea of time and space and gravity altogether. The theory of relativity is but a more evolved concept that explains and confirms the laws of motion, yet at the same time comprehensively explains new facts about the behavior of light and the nature of space and time and the influence of gravity. Let us take another example of evolution, this time from religious thought. It is said in the Genesis that God created the heavens and the earth in 6 days, and on the 7th he rested. The Quran mentions the same concept of creation, but instead of days, it mentions spans of time. To quote verbatim, it says, "It is God who created the heavens and the earth and all that lies between them in 6 spans, then assumed all authority. You have no protector other than Him, nor any intercessor. Will you not be warned even then?" Al-Quran 32:4. The concept of spans of time seem more evolved than days. This is so because the mention of days restricts the thought to the common conception of a day, which is 24 hours. Spans, on the other hand, brings to mind a period of time not limited to 24 hours, as some phenomena must surely have taken a relatively longer period than others to establish and sustain. The narration of the Quran seems more profound and evolved and shows an evolution of the intellect itself. Also, assumed all power is once again an indication of a more advanced concept than on the seventh day God rested. For surely the deity is no earthling to be in need of rest due to depletion of energy after a hard day's labor or the like. Further, the mention of and all that lies between them gives credence to the fact that it is not only the material things that were created but others too, the significance of which was understood in a different context altogether, perhaps not conceivable by most people then. The idea of quoting the religious comparisons is not to show one inferior to the other, but only to point out the level of evolution of the human thought process itself, and that very understanding of concepts evolve with the passage of time. One field of knowledge that deals with evolution of connected systems is the holonistic theory, first proposed by Arthur Koestler in the 1950s and later adapted by Ken Wilber. According to the theory of holistic hierarchy or holarchy, all things consist of holons. These holons are complete entities and wholes in themselves. For example, the alphabets of a language, A, B, C, etc. These can, however, evolve to the next higher holistic level and become parts of new holons. For example, alphabets can be made into words, that is, cat, bat, mat, etc., which in turn become the building blocks for the next level, say sentences. For example, a fat cat sat on the mat, and so on. Another example could be taken from science, where it is seen that atoms are holons as they are wholes in themselves. They are the building blocks for molecules, which once again are holons in themselves, but a stage higher than atoms. A further evolution converts molecules to amino acids, perhaps, which may then go on to build cells, and so on and on. Now each set of holons that evolve must contain the holons of the previous level. The new holons are different from the predecessors inasmuch as the previous ones have been integrated in them and have acquired something extra to establish a fresh identity of their own. They have in fact transcended the previous order and have acquired some more new properties. The higher mode of holons, however, cannot exist without containing the lower levels, but the lower ones can exist on their own even if the higher order of holons is destroyed. The higher the holons grow in the holonic hierarchy, the more autonomous they become, and their capability and value increases. Let us see how this theory explains evolution, and as we shall see in a minute, it goes on to explore phenomena even beyond. Matter, the physical manifestation of the cosmos. This cosmos is written with K, K-O-S-M-O-S, and is different from cosmos, C-O-S-M-O-S. It is better explained in books of holonic theory. Briefly, cosmos is the cumulative manifestation of all matter, energy, and even the psychology of the universe. Now, matter may be taken as the starting point for our understanding of the levels of holons. A higher level of development or further evolution of matter could be the holon of life or biophysics. In between, there may be some sub-levels, but we are avoiding them for the sake of simplicity. The new holon, the holon of life has developed over the holon of matter, inasmuch as it incorporates the phenomena of self-replication and multiplication to the holons of matter. It would thus be a step higher in holarchy, and would be the higher stage of the evolution of matter. The result would be the manifestation of living organisms, that is, plant and vegetation. A further stage of advancement of plant life would be the incorporation of mobility in the holon to reach the next higher stage, animal life. A further evolution and development of some species to the next stage is the holon of the mind. Here, the holon of life have evolved to the stage where it has acquired the ability to think for itself. This is the stage of psychological interplay incorporated with the holon of the animal body. Humans are the manifestation of this stage of evolution in holarchy. It seems that over the millennia, some cognitive and creative phenomena has evolved life from the unicellular amoeba to the multicellular animal. This holon of the animal, by some process of natural nurture, has been upgraded to the holon of mind. Now, as per the holonostic principle, the holon of the mind cannot exist without incorporating and transcending the holon of the body, which means that for the mind to have come about, it is essential to have gone through an evolutionary phase of the body. And only after the body went through the required steps of change and readjustment, it got prepared to be incorporated in the holon of the mind. A process of sieving out the developed elements from among the multitude of animal species, and then their further evolution must have produced those ingredients that finally became the mind. In the process of sieving, only the right size of the grain can pass through the opening. The bigger or coarse particles are held back by the size of the mesh. One starts with a large quantity of the material, but by the time the process of sieving is complete, only a very small portion of the original remains. Similarly, in the process of holonistic hierarchy or holarchy, most of the mass of the previous holons do not fit the qualifications of the next level, and are either rejected and discarded, or not considered for further evolution. Although humans may share over 95% of genes with chimpanzees, yet are markedly different from them, and are surely more evolved and advanced along the scale of existence, showing that only a tiny percentage of matter evolves to higher levels from the vast amount of the whole, and only that which has matured through the process of systematic evolution. Let us stop here for a minute and see how far we have come. It will be observed that for the holon of the mind to exist, it needs to encompass the holon of the animal, which in turn must have advanced over the holon of plant and matter, and so on and on it goes. Now, continuing further along the holonic hierarchy, we reach the holon of the soul, and finally perhaps the spirit. The beauty of the theory of holarchy lies in the fact that it goes on to show how the development of higher level holons enhance the very essence of the holon itself. That means that where there is vertical growth, there is also lateral advancement, meaning that with progress along the scale of ascent comes the increase in capability to perform and finally to acquire the ability to self-improve. This is the consequence of the fact that with the growth in knowledge comes the increase of understanding and awareness and the overall expanse of the self. Each individual has a capacity to grow physically, mentally, and spiritually. A balanced diet and regular exercise promote physical well-being. Reading, learning, and mental exercise promote mental development. A healthy attitude in life promotes a desire to self-improve. If this is done in a balanced, evolutionary manner, durable effect is achievable. To develop a healthy attitude, life requires a balance in both the physical and the metaphysical domains of personality. This is only an attempt to familiarize the reader with the idea of holons. The whole theory of holarchy is a complete subject on its own and should be studied in detail to acquire an in-depth knowledge. Let us repeat the above for emphasis, as it is the central idea of the essay. Each individual has a capacity to grow physically, mentally, and spiritually. A balanced diet and regular exercise promote physical well-being. Reading, learning, and mental exercise promote mental development. A healthy attitude in life promotes a desire to self-improve. If this is done in a balanced evolutionary manner, durable progress is achievable. To develop this healthy attitude, life requires a harmony in both the physical and the metaphysical domains of personality. As an evolving system progresses and reaches the stage of self-perpetuation, it becomes self-participating and self-directing as well. For if it is not so, the result would be self-destructing and self-diminishing. Now, the tendency of self-destruction in an evolving system is a negative or detrimental trait and does not serve the very logic of its existence. Humans are also a part of this self-perpetuating system and are positioned at a very high level in the whole spectrum of evolution, whereby they have gained the capability of being conscious of the system itself. They may not fully appreciate or understand the purpose of the system of which they are a part, yet they are aware of it and know that such a structure exists. They probe and search for its meaning in everything around them. As said elsewhere, they do so by the use of their most important and uniquely private tool, the mind. The mind, however, like most things, is a double-edged sword. It generates both positive and negative thoughts. It is both creative and destructive. It has the power to both accept or reject. All this in turn depends on the basis of the thought itself and one's approach to the subject. If the basis or origination of thought or conscious analysis is positivism and open-mindedness, it will endow progress and bear constructive results. But if the idea takes birth in doubt and deceit, it will promote negativity and resistance to progress. Let us take an example. The splitting of a heavy atom, fission, or joining of two small atoms, fusion, releases tremendous energy. This release of power can be utilized either constructively, that is, to generate electric energy, or destructively, for example, to make a bomb, depending on the purpose in mind. Interestingly enough, however, the process for electrical power generation is based on the principle of a controlled and balanced nuclear reaction, whereas a bomb is an uncontrolled release of energy. This points to the fact that perhaps progressive processes are usually harnessed, balanced, and controlled activities, or evolutionary in nature. Uncontrolled reactions can be catastrophic. All stable systems in nature have one thing in common. They are all balanced and evolving. A controlled evolutionary change is perhaps more enduring and longer lasting than a violent revolutionary one. Observe both the macrocosm and the microcosm. The solar system maintains its stability because it is balanced and evolving. At the other end of the spectrum of the cosmos, the classical stoic structure follows the same principle of balance and poise. The greater the dawn of awareness, the greater the wisdom and the attainment of balance, and the more the elevation of poise. Sages, monks, sadhus, and perhaps prophets are a set of people that demonstrate this. They seem to be that group of individuals who have harnessed the tumult of material desires and mental agitation and reached the balance of mind, body, and soul in order to acquire a poise of serenity. They are evolved souls who have reached the next level in holonic hierarchy. They will surely be a holon higher than common human beings. The next step would be the holon of universal spirit, where all souls would perhaps integrate and acquire the oneness with nature itself, perhaps the final stage of the great holarchy. The birth of an idea itself may be instantaneous or revolutionary in nature, but its establishment as a durable effect has to be nurtured and groomed by a process of slow and gradual evolution. We thus infer that balance and evolution are not only the keys to a successful existence, they are also its basic principle. It is thus safe to conclude that evolution is the inherent nature of nature itself. It is its very principle of existence and sustenance, and that advancement in any field of knowledge is the result of it. Thank you.